Good morning. I'm glad to see everyone back again today. We are going to be discussing salaries again and paychecks. Today's topic is going to be commissions and piecework, which are other ways that people are paid besides salary and hourly wages. That's section 3.2, but we're going to begin this class like we begin every class, and we're going to see who's got questions about 3.1, wages and salaries. Let's do it. This is Josh, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't understand. Like there's days and every month, and like you said, there's not always.
Okay. We've got on number 5, I'm going to write this over here. And we're going to think it through, and that's a very good question. Usually the questions have to do with problems that are biweekly or semi-monthly. Right. This one happens to be to convert a paycheck that is $1,895 per month into a biweekly salary. Okay, hold on. There we go.
All right.
Super. I need to probably zoom out just a little bit. There we go. So we've got this person that has been hired to do a job for $1,895 a month. It's been decided that we're going to get a bi-weekly paycheck. I don't like trying to go, or I find it difficult trying to go from monthly to bi-weekly directly. So what I need to do is figure out how much $1,895 is per year.
Oh, yeah.
And then divide by what number? 26, because bi-weekly is 26 paychecks a year. And what I bet you were thinking was, let's take $1,895 and divide it by 2. Yeah. And that would have given you a semi-monthly paycheck. And semi-monthly and bi-weekly are not the same. And you knew that it wasn't the same, and you just couldn't think how to get there. Wasn't that right? Right. Okay. So we're going to take this will end up this will be monthly. We're going to take it times 12 because there are 12 months in a year, and that will give you our annual salary, or just a yearly amount, I guess. And I've got my calculator out. It's 1,895 times 12. That would give us a yearly salary of $22,740. Generally, if you just take everything to a yearly rate and then divide by the number of paychecks, it's the most straightforward. Then we're going to take that $22,740 and divide it by, would you tell me one more time? 26. It's 26, that's right. And this will give me the number of paychecks there are in a biweekly year. And we're going to take that number and divide it by 26, and we end up with, and my decimal ends up being 6,153. I'm going to look right here at the 1, and I'm going to round that up. Since the number following the 1 is a 5, I'm going to round that up to 874.62. That's number 5 on the homework in 3.1. Who's got another question? Great. Give me an example of somebody that would be paid a salary versus an hourly amount. I think we forgot to talk about that, and I always think that.
CEOs.
Oh, great idea. Yeah. The chief executive officer might get a huge annual salary. Anyone think of anyone else that gets an annual salary that doesn't get paid by the hour? School teachers, generally. You know, full-time school teachers in a high school or an elementary school, they sign a contract for a set amount per year. And then depending on how often they get paid, you would divide that. So they're not hourly workers. Mm-hmm. Lots of people get paid hourly, right? Many, many, many people. It's probably one of the most common ways to get paid. That's 3.1. Today's topic is 3.2, commissions and piecework. 2 other very common ways for employers to pay their employees. Let me switch this off. Blank sheet of paper and get set up. Some people in sales or marketing are paid commissions rather than, or in addition to, being paid an hourly rate or a salary. A commission is a percentage of the sales, and it's an incentive system. Compensation is designed to produce maximum output. Who might work on commission? A salesman in car salesman, sure. Insurance salesman. Telephone solicitors, right? The reason someone would be paid on a commission rather than hourly is what? It's to encourage them to work harder. They don't necessarily make more money, right? If you were selling real estate and you sold no houses and you were working on a commission, you would make no money, right? Or if you were a car salesman and you sold no cars, you would make no money. So you don't necessarily make more money, but it gives you the opportunity to make more money, because the more you produce, the more you make, right? And so a lot of people who are driven by incentive, end up in those fields where there is incentive pay. And that's exactly what a commission is. Okay, we're going to talk about examples. This one happens to be, for a salesperson, we don't know what this person is selling, but there are commissions at different levels, and that's a very common thing to happen. Okay, this person in sales up to $10,000 makes 6%. Our example. In the range of $10,001 to $20,000, we get 8%. So on the first $10,000 of sales, it's 6%, right? When the 8% kicks in, it does not go back to zero. Do you understand? And then on sales of $20,000 or more, we get 9% commission. Is everyone understanding what's going on in this problem? Okay. Then let's look at our examples. We want to find out what the commission paid would be if sales are $8,500. There's a couple of times in this class that I say, go ahead and use those percentages the way you walked into here maybe feeling comfortable with. And this is a perfect example of that time. I'll show you what I mean. If you're familiar with the non-proportional way of doing it, we know that we can take 6% of $10,000, and that will equal the commission. Is that all right? If I want to do this directly, I can go 0.06, changing that percent to a decimal, times, the word of means times 10,000. I'm going to put those little zeros up there, will equal my commission. I've got a calculator. I go 0.06 times 10,000, and what do I get as an answer? How much?
600.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm doing the wrong amount of money here. Somebody needs to yell out. I'm thinking and talking at the same time. I'm sorry. Now, what number did we get? I'm forgiven. Good. $510. And that would be my commission. If we want to set that up using the proportion method, it works very nicely also. I'm going to turn this over and get rid of that. It says my 6% commission for every $100 of sales is proportional to the part or the amount that I get paid on the amount of sales, $8,500. I would cross multiply. I would get P equal 510. It'll work either way. If you want to quickly use those decimals, it's fine. If you're happy using those proportions, it sets up very nicely that way too. I know there's some of you that have got a real comfort level using that decimal. That's a time when I think it's very comfortable to use it if you like it. Is that all right? We are going to use those decimals like that when we do income taxes in the next couple sessions. So this person made less than $10,000. The salesman never got into the category of making an 8% commission. All sales were at the rate of 6%. Okay? So here we move on to B. The next time period passes. Salesman's total sales are 17,200. Something new's happening here. The first $10,000 of the salesman's commissions were at the 6% rate, and all sales above 10,000 were at the 8% rate. Here's what I see is happening. I'll show you kind of how I do this. I put it on sort of a number line. I'm seeing sales amount as on my line. I see sales as starting with 0. And do you understand how my number line's working? From 0 to 10,000, we get 6%. And there's $10,000 worth of sales in there. From 10,000 to 20,000, I get 8%. And how many dollars worth of sales did this salesman have that were in the category above 10,000, less than 20,000? 7,200. Okay? So on the first 10,000, I'm going to get a 6% commission. On the last 7,200, I'm going to get an 8% commission. The 8% did not go back into the original first $10,000. So, 2 parts to this. I set this one up as a proportion over here. On the first $10,000, 6% commission. Can we see that? I've got 6% on every $100. What part is that commission? On the first $10,000, we got $600 in commissions. Part 2, the amounts that are over 10,000. Amounts over 10,000 and under 20. 8 is to 100, like P is to, and what I'm using for a base there is the 7,200. That's the amount of dollars in sales that were over 10,000. Are those numbers making sense where I've come up with those? I'm going to cross multiply, and I'm going to get $576. So the total paycheck, gross wages, before we take out any taxes, is going to be the sum of, and I'm going to go back over here, the 600 that was in the 6% category, the 576 that was in the 8% category. Gross wages for this commissioned salesperson will be $1,176. Does everyone understand those calculations? So the plot thickens. Guess how many categories we're going to be in Part C? All 3 of them. Okay? Let's look at the numbers. Whoa, where'd I go? There I am. Next pay period. Salesman sells $36,000 worth of stuff, whatever he's selling. Once again, he gets 6% on the first 10,000. On those numbers that, on those sales that are between 10,000 and 20,000, he gets 8%. And on all sales over 20,000, he gets 9%. Look at my number line. Let me zoom out a little bit and show you what I see. How much money is in the category between $0 and $10,000? All $10,000 of it. How much of his paycheck is between $10,000 and $20,000, or his sales? Another $10,000. How much of his sales, or her sales, were above $20,000? $16,000. So we're going to have 3 calculations here. We've got 6% in this category, 8% on that, 9% on all money that's above $20,000. I've done 3 separate calculations. Let me see if I can get them up here. I've done all of these with a proportion, although they don't have to be. I've taken my first $10,000. It's like the original $10,000 in Part B. You get $600 for that commission. 6 over 100. like P is to 10,000. In the money in the sales that are above 10,000 and less than 20,000, there's another $10,000 worth of sales. So I've got 8% for that money, so it's 8 over 100, like P is to 10,000. Again, I cross multiply and I find out that the money that's involved in the sales that are over 10 and under 20, there's another $800. I then have $16,000, which I get paid 9%. So I've got 9 over 100, like P is to 16,000. Cross multiply, and in the third category of sales, I get 1,440. Is that making sense? So what I do is come back on my number line.
Instead of on your second one, you're just splitting them up, basically splitting them up into 10s, 10s, and then...
That's exactly what's happening.
That work.
Most common mistake. People put $20,000 in that second category. That's exactly what you did wrong? Okay. I've graded a lot of these tests. The most common mistake is in that middle category. People see there being $20,000. If you use the number line, I think it helps you see how much money is in each of those categories. So what I've done here is put sales going under the number line. This should equal 36, I'm not writing very nicely this morning, 1,000. And then I've got commission on each of those pieces underneath it, and the total commission would be $2,840. Yes, Cassandra.
I'm confused about why you did put $10,000 on the second, in the second one.
I did.
8%.
You're just splitting it up.
Oh, okay, are you asking about example B? Or are you asking about example C?
C.
Okay. I've got $10,000 at 6%. $10,000 at 8%.
That's where I'm confused. I don't understand why you put 10 there.
How much money is there?
20.
Great question. How much money is there in the sales that are greater than 10,000, less than 20,000? Okay, let's talk. Do you have
I'm just saying you're basically taking the whole total and splitting it up
into
into
categories?
brackets. Like instead of putting 10 in the 6% and 8 in the, or 20 in the 8%, she's just splitting it up.
Okay.
There's only a $10,000 range in that
There's
second
only, that's
category.
very
yeah.
good. That was what I was trying to say,
Yeah.
Karen. That was very nice.
Thank
the
you.
range in which you get paid 8% is only a spread of $10,000. On the first $10,000 of sales, you get paid 6%. On the second $10,000, you get paid 8%. That gives you a total of $20,000 worth of sales.
Oh, okay.
Do you see?
Yeah.
Right. Say it one more time, Karen. It was a very nice way of saying it.
There's only a $10,000 range in each.
Right. It's very important that you understand that concept, and that the questions you are asking are the questions that come up, because that's exactly the way the income taxes in this country work. And when we do income taxes, we're going to have this same thing. We're going to be talking about how much money is in categories, and you're going to need to see how much is in those categories. Quincy.
Yeah. I wanted to know, why couldn't you just put 36,000 times 9%?
Because on your first dollar of sales, you don't get 9%.
Okay. So it only.
It would be nice. Actually, it's very common in real estate. I know. I don't know about other. Have any of you worked on commission? Did you get a straight commission and you always got the same amount? It's very, very, very common when you work on commission for the first sales to be at one level, and then to increase productiveness, or as an incentive to increase productiveness, once you reach a certain level, for you to get into another higher level commission rate. But it doesn't go back to the first dollars. Has anyone worked on commission where that happened? What kind of sales were you in?
That was computer sales.
In computer sales. So once you hit a certain mark for the month, for example, or the week, or the day, year.
I mean, I wasn't really experienced So I just had to kind of work my way through it, but yeah, eventually that's how it worked out.
That after you hit a certain mark,
After I hit a
your
certain
sales
point,
above and beyond that.
I'd get a higher commission, but it wasn't. It was like a few percentage. A few
Sure.
percent's nothing real big.
But if you're dealing with large quantities of sales, it can make a big difference in a paycheck.
Of
Sure.
course, yeah.
And again, we kind of need to make sure we understand that, and the questions you're asking are the most common question, because our income tax things are, we're going to look at how much is in ranges. Okay? And I would be happy if you wanted to, where we've got 6% times 10,000, go 0.06 times 10,000 if that's a comfort level, 0.08 times 10,000, and then 0.09 times the 16,000 if you want to do that. If that formula is comfortable. And I know several of you have discussed the fact that that formula makes that comfortable and quicker for you. We don't want to use it for everything, but those very straightforward, where we're looking for an amount and we know a percent and a base, that would be fine. Okay, that's commission. Your homework's going to look a lot like those. Got one more category. It's called piecework. I might need to zoom just a minute. Piecework is also an incentive rate. It is not a time rate. It's based on what you produce, not necessarily what you sell. So this isn't for a salesman. This would be on something that you produced. Has anyone ever worked on a piecework rate? What did you do?
Well, my dad like makes signs and stuff for Hallmark, and I
Okay.
would sit there and like have to piece them together.
Uh-huh.
You know, and these little kids to ship out,
And then
and like you would get a certain amount of money
sign.
per pack you did.
Great.
So,
Example. So the more of these packs you could put together in an hour, the higher your income would be. And if you moved slowly and you didn't put together very many, the lower it would be. It's very much like commission, only it's not based on sales, it's based on production. It is also an incentive rate, and oftentimes it's a graduated system, just like the commissions were. And that's when those are different levels. It's called a graduated commission rate. Sometimes piecework is also a graduated rate. Okay? So this is going to look a lot like commissions. It's not based on sales, however, it's based on units of production. So the number of items produced times the pay per item is what your salary is, what your wage is. So it says, we can have this be the signs that are made in Josh's dad's business. Once again, if you make 1 to 100 items per pay period, whatever this might be, per week maybe, you would get 50 cents. If you make 101 to 200 items, on the items that are greater than 100 and less than 201, up through 200, you get 75 cents each. And on aisle items over 201 during this pay period, then you'd get 90 cents each. We need lots of these, and we're encouraging you to make lots of them because we can sell all we can produce. We want to get them out quick. So we give you an incentive for producing more per pay period. If you were working by the hour, you'd have no reason to move quickly. So you can see why it would be an incentive. The hope would be that, like Keith said, you'd make more money. Okay, so if 85 items are built by you and packaged, what kind of pay are we talking about? All of them are in the category or the range of 0 to 100. All of them are in the 50 cent per item amount. Therefore, we're going to take 85 items times 50 cents and get $42.50. Is that all right? It gets a little more complicated then. We're going to build 164 of these items tomorrow. We're going to take the number of items produced times how much we make per item. On the first 100 items, we get 50 cents. On the items that are greater than 101 through 200, we get 75 cents. So again, I'm going to put it on my number line. I'm going to see 100 items at 50 cents. Does that make sense? 100 items at 50 cents is $50. On the items that are greater than 100 but less than 200, I'm going to get 75 cents. How many items are there that are in the category greater than 100, less than 200? And do you see where that number's coming from, the 64? Okay, so once I've produced the 100th one, item 101 I get paid 75 cents for. So 64 items produced times 75 cents is $48. I've been paid for a total of 164 items, and I'm going to get paid $98. Okay. Last example here shows that 280 items are built. I've got money in each of the categories, so we're going to make 3 separate calculations, and that's what you have to do, is you have to make each category or each range a separate calculation. First 100 times 50 cents, I get paid $50. How many items, if I make 280 items, are going to be paid in the range that is paid 75 cents? 100 items, that's right, because the range from 100 to 200 is 100 items, so the second 100 items get paid at a rate of 75 cents for a total of $75. The last 80 items, that's those items that are over the 200 mark, get paid at a rate of 90 cents. So I've got 80 times 90 cents, which gives me $72. When I add those up, I get paid for a total of 280 items, and I get $197 as gross wages. Does that make sense? Questions about that? And what I'd like to do is get in the book and let's do a couple of homework problems together. We're going to be on 3-2. And I would just like to go down through a few of these. That's on page 72 in your book. Anyone going to have trouble setting up problem number 1? Net sales are $342,400. We're getting paid on a 7% commission. How many calculations are we going to need? Just one. It's a straight commission, right? There's not categories there. It's not graduated. We're going to set up one calculation. Let's set it up as a proportion. How are we going to do it? What am I looking for? R, P, or B? Commission. Is the commission the R? Is the commission the P? Or is the commission the B? Somebody shaking their head. It's the part. Very good. When we set these up, we need to actually analyze where they go. The commission rate is the percentage. That goes under R, the commission rate of 7%. Excuse me. The total amount of sales would be the base. And what you'd be looking for is the part. The commission is the part. Good. So we're going to say, we're back to R is to 100. Proportionally the same as the part is to the base. when you're paid on a commission, the commission is the part you are paid. The base is the total sales, and the rate is the commission rate. On my test, that's how you're going to set it up. The problem would look similar to number 1. Problems will look similar to the homework. I just look at homework problems and we'll set up problems that look very similar. So does that answer your question? I'm not going to set up the proportion. You're going to set up the proportion. Okay. So you need to know where the part is and where the base is and what the rate is, right? So in this particular case, when we're going back to this model, we're going to go 7 is to 100, proportionally the same as P is to, and it's a very large number. Who might sell stuff that costs that much?
Real estate agent.
Very easily. And that's a very common real estate commission. So that to me almost looks like a real estate problem. We're going to do, and it doesn't have to be that at all. I just like to think about practical applications for what we're doing. Hopefully, by this point, once you've got the proportion set up, it's mechanical to go through the process of cross-multiplying, dividing, and coming up with the unknown. So we're going to go 7 times 342,400 divided by 100. Who's got an answer?
Is it common that you have, like, I found that some of the stuff that you're doing has problems setting up that type of like equation. Certain things just kind of click and I just do it rather than win. It seems that easy.
What way did you see this one?
Just basically, you know, change the percent into a decimal and then multiply.
And that's fine when what we're looking for is the part. When people tend to have problems with that technique is when we're looking for the base or we're looking for the rate. So as long as we're looking for the part, it's pretty straightforward to just take the percent, change it to a decimal, multiply it times the base.
You specify what you're looking for.
No. Oh, okay. Are you saying the type of setup I want or the question?
Find the base, find the part.
No.
Do you put that or do you just put solve for
I was
whatever?
going to say net sales are, commission rate is. What is commission?
I mean, it'll say it, but you know, it won't say what is the part. It'll say,
That's
you know,
right.
yeah.
That's right.
I was in algebra and I learned percent over 100 equals part over whole.
That's what this is. And percent we're calling rate.
Okay.
That is exactly what we're doing here. Same thing exactly. You're saying that you did percent over 100 is the part over the whole. The whole, the starting point, the original is the base. The part is, in this case, commission. And instead of calling percent, we're calling it R.
Okay.
So that we don't get it, we're calling it rate, so we don't have 2 P's in our formula. The rate is always the percent, and we let P be part. And what's happening is some prior knowledge is coming into play, and we encourage you, because all of you came to this classroom with some practical experience, some prior math courses, and I encourage you to connect all of that prior knowledge to this and ask those kinds of questions, because if you're thinking, how is it, we'll be glad to answer those questions, help you connect, because it really is easier to tie new learning to old learning than to establish new thoughts. And so if you've got some things like that, I encourage you to ask them. But that is exactly the same formula that we're using here at Quincy. Okay. So what did we get as this salesman's commission? Say the number slow and out loud.
23,968.
23,968.
All right.
Everyone agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Look through that homework. Is there something else that he says, let's try number 5 instead? Okay, let me get a sheet of paper. Let's read it together, number 5, and see what's going on. Josh, do you mind reading it out loud?
Net sales of $23,402. Sales return $855 with a 9% commission.
Great. Are we going to pay someone for their sales if they're returned?
No.
No. So
You just subtract
That's right, and that's a great question. We actually didn't talk about that, but yes, if you have returns, then we're going to subtract the returns before we pay you. We're not going to pay you for items that were returned. That wouldn't be true in real estate because nobody's going to turn their house back in, but that would certainly be true of maybe furniture sales or something, right, where you sell some big items and then somebody says that didn't work, they bring it back. So on number 5, we're going to take net sales, we're going to subtract the returns, and then we're going to get 9% on everything that the company actually sold at the end of the period. So let's do that. Somebody help me with the numbers. 23,402. We're going to subtract 855. So this was sales. This is returns. And what are the total sales that after returns?
22,547.
And so this is commissionable sales. The sales after the return. We're then going to pay you 9% for all of that. If we're going to set it up as a proportion, we're looking for the part. And I keep making that dot for multiply, is that all right? Somebody with a quick calculator and a loud voice.
2,029, 23 cents. No. 2,029, 23 cents.
Is that better? Great, thank you. Anything else that we need to look at in the homework?
Can you go over 15?
I'm sorry?
Number 15.
Number 15. The information for number 15 is in the rates right above there. Let me see if I can put this on the screen. We're down here, just a second. It says the commissions at Computer Haven are paid on the following scale. 8% is paid on the first $7,000 in net sales, 11% on the next $14,000 in net sales. So up to and including $21,000 is taken care of there. That's giving you the amount in the range. The high of that range would then be $21,000. 16% on any additional net sales above the $21,000. So Frank made $16,385 in sales with $210 in return. So what we're going to do is start out by taking the $16,385 and subtracting $210. How much were our total commissionable sales?
$16,175.
Okay, let me get my paper back out. Fran, I'm going to have you read that number very slow and loudly. Commissionable sales were, I heard you say, $16,175. 175. Okay. On the first $7,000 in sales, and this is where I like my number line, I get paid 8%. In that range of sales is $7,000. Is that all right? In the next, and I'm going to zoom out so that we've got room for this, $14,000, I get paid 11%. That makes the cap on this range $21,000. Does that number line make sense? sales of 0 to 7,000. The next 14,000 would take that clear up to $21,000. Over $21,000 worth of sales, I would get paid 16%. Frank had sales of $16,175. How much is he going to get paid in the 8% range? All $7,000, right? He's going to have $7,000 here. How much is he going to get paid at the 11% rate? $9,175. Where'd you come up with that number?
Subtracted the 7,000 from
That's right.
16,175.
So that's exactly right. These two numbers are a total of $16,175. So I'm going to set up two parts to this paycheck. I need to figure out how to get 8% on the first $7,000, and then I need 11% on the next $9,175.
When we show our work like on the test, I think he asked, I don't remember what you said. Are you going to want us to work them like that? Like put them in the proportions?
If you're more comfortable doing that one with a decimal, I don't care if you do that with a decimal. But I find that when we're not working strictly with giving an amount, if you try to use other techniques, people don't tend to do them correctly. But if your comfort level here is 0.08 times 7,000 plus 0.11 times 9175, do it. It's very straightforward. But if we're looking for the base and we're looking for the rate, I find that if you don't go to this, people can't remember when they multiply, when they divide, and we start getting the wrong kinds of numbers. But no, on these, when they're straightforward, you're just looking for them.
Why would you do that? I thought it was like another 7,000.
No, it's 11%. 11%.
It's 11%, and there's $9,175 in that category of money that's over 7,000. Are you seeing it?
Oh yeah, that's my fault.
That's okay. That's why we talk. Yes.
But you want us to show our work whether we're setting
Oh,
it up
I absolutely
like
want you to show your work. Guess why?
that, so you know if we're doing it right.
So I know if you're doing it right. And there's a listing of answers in the back of the book. I'm really quite hesitant to believe that any of you are doing all this in your head. Are you with me? Write down. That's fine. Crank it out. But would you understand why if you write 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 and all the correct answers, I would potentially not want to give you full credit on your homework? Yes, right. I don't think anybody's doing all this in their head. So show whatever work you're doing. And if people say I do it on a scratch paper, give me the scratch paper, label it. Set it up, though, on the paper. Because I know that after that you're doing it in the calculator.
I haven't been doing that. I just kind of put it in my calculator.
Well, show your work from now on. Okay.
I think I can do this here.
You think you can do this?
I think I can do
I
this.
think every one of you can do this. We are done in 3-2 talking about gross wages. Many different ways that people get gross paychecks. What we're going to do when we get back together in the next section is start talking about the money we actually take home. We become paymasters in our own business. You own the business, you're calculating gross wages for someone, and then we're going to use current tax tables and we're going to actually generate paychecks. We are going to do federal, state taxes, we're going to do Medicare, we're going to do FICA. We're going to be ending up with with net paychecks, actually the amount that you would write checks for. We're going to be using current data. We're going to be using 2001 tax tables that will make it very up to date. So there will be new handouts on our next class section, and we will not be using the book. We'll be using a special 2001 update that I'll be bringing to class for you, and we'll be doing our homework out of the 2001 update. So does that kind of give you a preview of what we're doing next? Great. This is a whole chapter on payroll. So we'll stop the tapes and look forward to seeing you in next class section.